Persian, Arabian, poetic treasures, form faithfully rendered from Friedrich Rückert, with dialogue replies in verse. That's what I'm going to read from today. It's my latest book, and it's a collection of renderings that Friedrich Rückert, you could say Rückert in English, one of the great genius translators in the history of the world, a scholar, a poet, and a translator as well, who learned 44 languages and taught most of them at the University of Erlangen, which is how we know that he really learned them. This man collected Indian, Persian, and Arabian poems, and because he was a superb crafter, he crafted them with expertise incomparable. And so all I do is simply render them into English, and all of a sudden, not knowing how to read Sanskrit or Persian or Arabic, I am favored with a real treat. Rückert was an amazing man. I actually visited his house and stayed overnight. It's still there. My friend and I had rooms on the 3rd floor, and I went into his study. I was going to write a poem at his desk. I couldn't quite do that because he was way over 6 feet tall, and he used a standing desk. Well, I guess that'll be enough on Rückert. Let's look at a dialogue, and the whole thing. This is crucial. Is divided into and formatted in dialogues, so that for every poem that I get from one of these medieval or ancient masters, I write a reply in a comparable style, indeed as close a style as possible. And so you're going to have an interview. It'll be brief conversations back and forth for a little while. And let's begin with one of the poems that gave me the most fun of all. It is number 64. It's only 6 lines long, but it's packed. It really got me going. Here we go. It's called the dream form. Your dream form shows more love than you that flee. It seeks my gladdened view. It travels back each evening when my sleep, your eye gleam, steals again. If all my sleep away you take, your dream form comes when I'm awake. Here's my reply. Your dream form stays, that I may know what love is, and revive the glow. My love fulfillment must, you see, depend on dream and love and me. Your dream form lights a fire within, that lover singing might begin. Your dream form loves to float in air, to listen to my nightly prayer. I look within its eyes, and my form transfigured, there espy. Should I be tempted to despair of me, your dream form stays aware. Your dream form may no shape refuse, of goddess, houri, or of muse. It warmed the dawn when I was born, and reinforms the solar morn. Your dream form, girl, in Eden glade, I saw before the world was made. Your dream form speaks, and I attend. What message may the heaven lend? You, love, that moved the stars to be, have come and present are in me. The dreamer love force cannot miss. Dear love, your dream form taught me this. Though love be winged and seem to range, in dream form, love, you cannot change. The world may darken things held dear, you, gracious dream form, yet appear. should I be raised and heaven see, your dream form may appear to me. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I got so much out of this book and out of every page of it that poem in itself was worth the price of purchase. Well, let's see how we go here. Oh, yes, in the very next dialogue, there's a very nice one. In this case, also, you get to see how I take something short and use it as a runway. This one appealed to me because of the ingenious stanza form. I like to copy these unusual stanza inventions whenever I find them. Here we go. Guidance in love. Of love the sea no shore will show. Through desert we must roadless go, and won't progress through cleverness, yet godly grace may glow. Reply. The horse with luck will know the way, from course with pluck won't go astray, if only he God's own will be, who is the O and A. We love the sun who'll grace portend, and when he's won, a willing friend lights fire within that life can win, where love will never end. The night will come when we by star love's halidom yet guided are, and this might be the light that we can see, though flung afar. I pray that you, my dear, by word that lines imbue, which you have heard, with lover faith enwreathe my wraith, who spake of grace made new. I'll rest here, maybe take a breath before the next poem, because I wanted to do a different perspective on love. Here, love is just simply ecstasy-making, but sometimes he presents a tragic perspective. He tells stories of all kinds. Let's look at Verses in the Desert. That's number 51. A very remarkable production, as you'll see in a moment. And there are little notes. Al-Asma'i, who lived from the year 740 to the year 828, tells, during my travels in the desert, I beheld a stone on which was written the following couplet. If you are versed in love, pray God, explain to me. When love pursues a man, what should his action be? Below it I wrote, he'd best admit the yearning, and submit his heart, and humbly keep the secret pure with prudent art. Returning there another day, I found beneath it this couplet written. How deal in silence with a thing that wants to kill, and tries the manly heart with blood to overfill? I wrote below, if patience to be silent drains away his breath, there's nothing in the world can help him then but death. Coming back on the third day, I found a youth stretched out, dead on the stone, and these couplets written. We hearkened and we died. My salutation bring to where I never felt a kindly welcoming. May happy folk enjoy the bliss they're given to know, and those in love feel men's contempt in white-hot glow. That shocked as well as overpowered me. So I took a walk and I came back and wrote this. From men's contempt to rescue dignity of soul, do not be tempted by the grave, an empty hole. But surely peace in final darkness there will be. The term of burning done, we rest eternally. The we is nothing that a requiem would seek. Abyss confronts the one that aimed to climb the peak. But what about the searing, never-ceasing glow? It burns me, and I yearn for somewhere else to go. It isn't lover's glow you fear, a baseless claim. Contempt had scared you, thus you're terrified of shame. The one whom shame defeated craves yet brighter glow. Love more, become love's pilgrim, and you bliss will know. And so we conclude that short unit on love. And now we'll turn to a bigger unit, which is quite entertaining. Stories. He loves to tell stories. And one of the best is here, right on the next page, The Hermit and the Hound. This gave me quite a surprise. It's a bit like an Aesop's fable, complete with talking dog. The Hermit and the Hound. Once upon a mountain lived a hermit, who received each day some bread. Not knowing where it came from, he would eat it gladly, and it proved enough to quell his hunger. Bread one day was lacking, and he had to spend a hungry night, and in the morning pangs of hunger grew. There lay a village quite nearby, so coming down the mountain, he some bread requested at a household. Slices 3 were offered by the master. Gladly taking all, he sought the mountain, but was followed by a canine yelping. Came the household dog prepared to bite him, and the pious man in consternation threw a slice of bread to keep it quiet. This the dog devoured, but running after, wouldn't stop the loud confounded barking. So another slice the hermit gave it. Duly swallowing the gift, the yelper followed, and it threatened to attack him. After he the third slice had surrendered, up the mountain now the hermit's rushing. Barely halfway up, he hears behind him, unrelenting, panting, the pursuer. Turning to the dog, the hermit's yelling, "Shameless you! I only got 3 slices. Gave you all of them. What more is needed?" God endowed the hound with human language, and it answered, "Who's the shameless culprit? Wouldn't it be you? I at my master's gate keep watch all year, and often suffer 2 or even 3 days' worth of hunger. Yet with all this woe I can't imagine that my trusted role I would abandon at another home to beg for breakfast. You a single day found bread was lacking, and impatient left your master's threshold, giving up your vigil of devotion, bread war with a dog in valley waging." They make you think, don't they? Oh, let's have a little reply. I wrote just a short one. That is such a good story. It doesn't need much. Here's an Aesop tale in Saadi manner, featuring a punchline that reminds me brightly of the wit Nasreddin Hoxha offers, Turkish comic hero preacher. Suddenly inverting our perspective, freed up energy, the mind from custom with its dulling habitude dislodges. Incongruity, the Sufi secret, lent with fine surprise a healthy jolting prefatory of a soul renewal. Let's have dialogue 115. That is most handsome gift to the handsome. This is a story about Joseph when he's second in command to Pharaoh in Egypt. Lots of people came to give him presents. Also, he was the most handsome man in Egypt. This we learn from the Quran. That is not taught in the Bible. When Joseph was in Egypt land, with glance of beauty clear and grand, each far-realmed emissary sought to honor him with gifts they brought. An elder man at last appeared. What could he bring of worth endeared? He isn't of the higher class, and shabbily is clad, alas. But Joseph asked with caring thought, "A present, maybe, you have brought?" The man beneath his jacket sought a gift that might be helpful, thought. It little added to the mass of wealth, a simple mirror glass. In all the realms I hoped to view what would be beautiful as you, but nothing worthy could disclose until this little thing I chose, whereof your handsomeness had need. You're given many gifts indeed, some not quite useful, others which you have in forms by far more rich. Since on your brow a beauty seal God placed, the mirror is ideal. Your splendor bright you'll see within, and laud his might and honor him. Your image pray alertly view, if lesser versions tempting you. Yourself to you my gift extends, what present more the soul befriends. Nice little mirror story. Here's another one, I think, closely akin to it. This one was told by the great Persian poet Rumi. I visited his tomb in Egypt in the city of Konya. The dervish flutes are sounded there day and night because Rumi founded what should we call them? The institution of the whirling dervishes. These are religious mystical dancers. The whirling is not frenzied, but is slow and solemn, and every gesture has a meaning. This mirror gift, both wise and bold, recalls the tale by Rumi told of mural beauty would be held a contest. High emotions swelled, suspense might take your breath away as people waited for the day the works were finished and the prize they'd get who'd most delight the eyes. It likely seemed the skilled Chinese, with art instilled by Manichees, traditions melding, would attain the highest height, the prize to gain. The Chinese are going to compete against the Greeks to see who can do the best work of art, the most beautiful mural. And Greeks here I call sometimes Hellenes, Byzantines. These terms are interchangeable in Rumi's writings. The veil was lifted, as we'd guessed. Their arts might well appear the best. To realism, the largesse they added of expressiveness. The viewers all succumbed to awe. Brave freedom, paired with spirit law. Could mortal work that craft exceed? Ye placid Byzantines, take heed. When you a mural soon unveil, we hope ill judgment won't assail your graces, who'd remain serene. Cathay has beat the Byzantine. The Hellenes' work drew forth loud cries, clear glory shouts. They'd won the prize. It was a mirror that would show the Chinese work in finer glow. So greater light will God impart when mirrored in our polished heart. That's one of the most famous stories told in Sufi writings. The Sufis are rooted in Islamic culture, but they attempt to transcend all the doctrines. Ibn Arabi, the famous Sufi teacher, tells us that all religions are glasses or cups. They give color and shape to the water of spirit. They are not the water. Oh, here comes another fun piece. This one stars a clever girl. Abulaina, it's called. To learned Abulaina said his clever daughter, bright and clear, "O father, every day you're led to visit the esteemed vizier. Why don't you tell him of your poverty? He wouldn't care to hear of it, you see. Can't he himself your poverty espy? Fat chance, he never looks me in the eye. Cite the Quranic verse from God on high. To idols you must no devotion pay. Their ears are deaf, their blinded eyes don't see. They turn their sight away." "Oh, child," cried Abulaina, you are wise. Give me my coat, for I must rise, and should I late arrive, no entry, they might say. You can't be totally converted to the teaching of liberty in a single minute, by no matter how clever a daughter. Here we are now with time for a little reply. I used to march, protesting war, and music played to introduce the speakers we invited for their help to end huge weapon use. I'm talking about the 60s. This was a common practice to invite pacifist speakers and to discuss the elimination of nuclear weaponry, if at all possible. I childlike hoped with beauty grace to aid the course by which brute force we might evade. Each foreign war the wealthy class begins, no victory but gassed disaster wins, and profit based on death will never pay. I'm trying here with beauty's aid to bridge the east-west rift we've made, and starting in the east, the western way to lengthen, broaden, strengthen. May the hearers of my word but hark to hymns I play. Oh, now here's a very short, an extremely short story. I make a slightly longer reply. I like this very much. This is about a man who dies on Ramadan. He was born on Ramadan, and that's the month of pilgrimage, and his whole life is gauged accordingly and so evaluated. Ramadan is according to the lunar calendar, which is used in Islam, and because the moon, because of the way the moon behaves, Ramadan is a month that can occur at any time of the year and in any season. It travels regularly round the year. Said Al-Mansur when he upon his deathbed lay, "In pilgrim month, my son, my natal hour befell. In pilgrim month did I begin my reign as well. So ever would my dying day in pilgrim month I felt occur. To lead a pilgrim life I ever would prefer. A pilgrim for a goal must aim, and I the blessed attainment of my own might claim." And here's how I reply. A pilgrim life may teach the measurement of time. The pilgrim month of Ramadan will travel through the calendar entire. The hour when it is due must alter yearly. Therefore I'm made newly conscious of the fact that any season, any hour can grant the act that cleaves the daybreak and commends the higher station of divine command. Oh, blessed be every labor-sanctifying hour and moment, micro, nanosecond, swift, to let a new disclosure human spirits lift, infuse, innerve, a music power the love steed of the mind to drive, that lightnings me in him when I am most alive. Oh, pilgrim peregrine, yours be the falcon call of heart supreme, serene. Let me continue, pray, the melody begun, nor fear to fail or fall because the spirit wing might weary of the sun ray in its airy fling. For I, the higher, lighter sun, that heats my living creature blood beyond what warmth might tire, in force of glory flood, enticing lore is mine, that mind has mind of auroral heart-life wine. That is so enjoyable. Now, in the last part of this presentation, I would like to take a brief look at poems from India. We can't do too much with poems from India in this brief presentation because I have done 3 long stories in verse. They are divided into shorter sections with little replies. So the poet and I talk back and forth about how the story is developing as we go through. But I'd like to give you just a taste to whet your appetite for some Hindu-based rather than Muslim-based cultural legacies. Here is the beginning of a poem called Aja and Indumati. It's a romance poem. I told you I have translated 3 love stories. And let's begin then with poem 1. I've divided it up because I wanted to have neat sections to reply to in comparable length. On a day, while mindful of his people, glad the royal father strolled for pleasure with his wife in pleasant open garden, as might walk in paradise god Indra. Meanwhile Narada, on path of sunlight, hastened past the breezes from the northland, that on southern seashore in Gokarna he the lute might strum for new-come Shiva. But the wreath entwined about the lute scroll, woven out of flowers more than earthly, wind had stolen, through the blooms a-blowing, so they tell, in frenzy drunken bluster. Reply. How the scene is crammed with spirit action. King is godlike, yet can he be tranquil? Soon we view a mage and a musician who'll another deity be serving. Now we're facing a potential problem. Comes the north wind, who is godlike also. He is not benevolent, however, but the bloom wreath brazenly had stolen. 3 the quatrain strophes, 3 the god forms, we have come to know in such a hurry. Double is the level of the plot work, always intertwining earth and heaven. That is a particular feature of these Indian love stories. There are 2 castes of characters, really, and one of them is human, but the other is what I'd call preterhuman. They are gods, but they often behave like devils. They are simply just like us, only more intensely. They have all our goodness and badness, but somehow with greater force. You have to watch out for them. They can intrude, they can intervene, and they can control the action at any point in the story. Let's go on and see what's going to happen next. Offering each blossom of the season, filled with rich aromaed vernal seedlings, heaven wreath descended, gently resting on the bosom of the king's beloved. Yet a moment only had she seen it on her breasts, when, feeling overpowered, he her eyes felt closing, as can happen to the water lily in the moonlight. While her body fell unconscious earthward, she her husband to the ground dragged also. Haven't you observed a fallen oil drop can itself extinguish all the lamp flame? Well, you see, the wreath was resting on the top part of the lute, and then the wind blew it off, and now it has, by chance or by divine decree or what, deposited it upon this poor princess, and she feels faint, and she has gone into a coma, if not died entirely. I'll stop right there. I want to keep something of the suspense. And for my last reading in this short preview presentation, I'd like to give you a brief selection from another poet. This one was by Kalidasa, usually pronounced Kalidasa. I've never heard the A pronounced. And the second poet whom I render some things from is named Bhartrihari. This is Dialogue 43. Bhartrihari is a very interesting man. He will interest you immediately. He tried 7 times to become a monk and 7 times failed, though they say that he found a kind of peace and reconciliation at the end. Here is a poem that he wrote called Stages of Love. Sight to please the noble eye, the clear, bright face of one we love. Best to breathe, her breath, and what were finest to the ear, her word. And to taste, her lips, and what to feel, her body, slender, soft, and to think of, perfect grace that she in every act will show. Don't our poets claim a thing perverse, wrong-headed, when they about the weaknesses alleged of women write? Is it weak, the tender lightning that within their eyes frequently had smitten gods of heaven to the ground? Even when no tress will wave about the widened gaze, even when the lips are closed, the gleaming teeth yet hid, even when no pearly necklace plays about the twofold rise, all relaxed and calm, a lovely body will arouse the mind. Well, I can't find anything to disagree with there. Here's my reply, very much in spirit of the original, I think and hope. Poet of the 6th and 7th centuries, he legend left. 7 times we're told he tried a pure monastic life to lead. 7 times he failed, of women's loveliness the captive glad, though he finally, 'tis claimed, learned solitude and died at peace. I experience would prize above the rationale. Bhartrihari knew the pleasure of the 2 extremes, and of all the passages he travelled 7 times. Here's a man I like to read, a pilgrim wisdom guide. Varied are the names of God, potentials meant to call humans to a life renewed. Let moral teachings come. After an example set, let teachers learn a rule from you that have travelled long and widely, pilgrim journey to complete.